qualities.
Reservoir of qualities.
Yam,
Yam,
this,
Devi,
goddess, Yanjakaha, manifestor. I was just be manifestor. Gaura book, the enjoyer of the qualities. You, indeed, Sarva Sariri Atma, the super soul of all living entities. The goddess of fortune. Sharira, the body. Indriya, senses. Ashaya, and the mind. Nama, name. Rupe, and form. Bhagavati, Lakshmi, Pratyaya, the cause of manifestation. From you, Apashraya, the support. Translation: Mother Lakshmi, who is here, is the reservoir of all spiritual qualities, whereas you manifest and enjoy all these qualities. Indeed, you are actually the enjoyer of everything. You live as a super soul of all living entities, and the goddess of fortune is the form of their bodies, senses, and minds. She also has a holy name and form, whereas you are the support of all such names and forms and the cause for the manifestation. Purport: Madhvacharya, the Acharya of the Tattvavadis, has described this verse in the following way. Vishnu is described as Yajna personified, and Mother Lakshmi is described as spiritual activities and the original form of worship. In fact, they represent spiritual activities and the super soul of all Yajna. Lord Vishnu is the super soul, even of Lakshmi Devi, but no one can be the super soul of Lord Vishnu, for Lord Vishnu himself is the spiritual super soul of everyone. According to Madhvacharya, there are two tattvas or factors. One is independent and the other is dependent. The first tattva is the Supreme Lord Vishnu, and the second is the Jiva tattva. Lakshmi Devi, being dependent on Lord Vishnu, is sometimes counted among the Jivas. The Gaudiya Vaishnavas have described Lakshmi Devi in accordance with the following two verses from the Prameya Ratnavali of Baladev Vidabhushana. The first verse is a quotation from the Vishnu Purana. Ichaiva Satyaganmataha Vishnu Sri Anupayami Yatha Sarvagato Vishnu Satayavayam Vidyotama Vishnu Shu Shaktayasti Srastasu Yakitita Para Shaiva Sristad Abhineti Praha Sishan Prabhu Mahan. Or based on the Brahmanas, Lakshmi is the constant companion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, and therefore she is called Anapayini. She is the mother of all creation. As Lord Vishnu is all-pervading, his spiritual potency, Mother Lakshmi, is also all-pervading. Lord Vishnu has three principal potencies: internal, external, and marginal. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has accepted Parashakti, the spiritual energy of the Lord, as being identical with the Lord. Thus she is also included in the independent Vishnu Tattva. In the Kanti Mala commentary on the Prameya Ratnavali, there's this statement. Nanokvati Nityam Tan Jiva Tvam Lakshmiya Srikri Tam Tataha Prahiti Ichaiviti Pakve Sarva Yakti Katanina Kala Kaste Jadi Bhadya Dvai Shudro Pichukta Ja Mahaprabhuna Sva Sishan Krati Lakshmiyat Bhagavad Advaitam Pradishtam Krati Yatashas to Dvaitam Tam Taita Tapavishta Nitya Mukta Divam Adaya Sangatamastu. Although some authoritative Vaishnava civic successions count the goddess of fortune among the ever-liberated living entities, Jivas, in Vaikuntha, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in accordance with the statement in the Vishnu Purana, has described Lakshmi as being identical with Vishnu Tattva. The correct conclusion is that the descriptions of Lakshmi as being different from Vishnu are stated when an eternally liberated lineage is imbued with the quality of Lakshmi. They do not pertain to Mother Lakshmi, the eternal consort of Lord Vishnu. Guna Vyakti Ayam Devi Yandapo Gunapukpavan Swami Sarva Sariryatma Sri Saririndriyashaya Navarupa Bhagavati Pratyayastramapashrayaha. Mother Lakshmi, who is here, is a reservoir of all spiritual qualities, whereas you manifest and enjoy all these qualities. Indeed, you actually enjoy everything. You live as a super soul of all immunities, and the goddess of fortune is a form of their bodies, senses, and minds. She also has a holy name and form, whereas you are the support of all such names and forms and the cause for their manifestation. These often these prayers we hear here get really into deep understanding, deep philosophy, and this is quite a philosophical verse. I don't know if you caught it all. I know I didn't catch it all. But nevertheless, by understanding this particular point, maybe this verse here, one can, through philosophy, develop an extremely keen Krishna conscious, an extremely keen Krishna conscious vision. I've heard this, the philosophy expanding exactly in this verse here to an amazing way of looking at the world. Because we're looking at the world, we do not see the world. We see the world, but we don't see actually what it really is. Actually, it is Krishna. And if someone who looks at the world properly, you can see this is how it's connected to Krishna in all stages, and actually it's nothing but Krishna. But then again, it's different from Krishna. It's Achinta Veda Veda Tattva. It's both Krishna and it's not Krishna at the same time, in an inconceivable way. That we do not see. We see simply, if we are practically on the animal level, we simply see the gross forms and we think that is real, this is what it is. Animals see like that clearly also when we complete children, we just wake up and we're in this world and it's just reality. This is how then as time goes by, I think one gets a little more skeptical. Maybe I'm not seeing. There's something I don't understand it, and it's not. There's something about. I'm not going to really point to precisely what it is, but there's some. One is, at least I know I have a feeling there's something. There's something about this I don't understand, or I feel even frustrated, fearful that I don't understand it. And what is that? But one has this idea that this is real, and actually there's a technical term for it. It's called naive realism. One's complete naive, and what is it? Yeah, and this is a tree, and that's just all there is to it. And one kind of predicts actually the vision from the spiritual world. One thinks we see a form of a tree, and we think here it's eternally real, and this is what it really is. But actually, it's not just a tree out here at our beautiful apple tree out here, and in all kinds of ways you can analyze that. But it's not what it really is. Actually, it's just molecules and atoms. Scientists, they will tell us. But what are they? Of course, what are atoms? Atoms turn out to be mainly space, empty space, and then there are some, tiny, particles. They're like if an atom is expanded to the size of the solar system, then you get it's like the sun and the earth. it's mainly just empty space, and then there are these couple of planets, separated by vast distances of space. So that's not only true when it comes to the cosmos and the solar system, but even on the atoms, it's actually just space, empty space, most of it. So it's, for us it looks so concrete, this is really solid matter, but actually it's not. It's just space, and somehow it has the appearance of a form. So it's just mainly emptiness, and then on this macro cosmic scale, microscopic scale, then we have more basic just emptiness, and we have some balls of emptiness in a vast ocean of emptiness. And that's what, and even when you, as I understand, when you study, these atoms and atomic particles, and even particles you analyze, they turn out to consist of smaller particles, which are also just, mainly space and then a little here and there, existing, some of them for like a millionth or a billionth of a second. They don't even, not even permanent, they just, what is a million, billion of a second? And how did you even figure all this out? And so I have no idea. But but it turns out that when you analyze it, of course this knowledge does not reach to any conclusion. It's actually just deconstructs reality. It's or so-called reality. As you say, this so-called reality is simply being deconstructed by science. Meaning they're discovering that it's not what we think it is, what it appears to be, but what it actually is. No, they are as much in darkness as the rest of us are. The world is not what we think it is. It's called the illusory potency of Krishna, and it's it is something. It's a real world. It's actually here, but it appears to be something else than actually what it really is. And that's why it's called illusory. Illusion does not mean that it doesn't exist at all. It means it appears to be something else than what it is. The example, several examples given, but if you see a dark night, you are walking on a path, there's a rope is lying, but you see a snake, because it's dark, you can't see what it is. You say, you get scared, and you freeze, and there's a snake in front of you. So that's an illusion. But that doesn't mean that the rope is not there. There is a rope there. It also doesn't mean that snakes don't exist. There are snakes, but they're not there. But there are snakes. Otherwise, how would you even think it was a snake if there were no real snakes? If you had not seen snakes before, or you ever heard about or seen pictures of snakes and read they were dangerous. If there was had no basis in reality, then you couldn't associate a snake with a rope. So something that illusion just means it's not there, but that's not. This has been pointed out all the time. No, it's reality, but to the person under illusion. That's also when we talk about illusion. There has to be some persons under illusion. It's been perceived as someone who's perceiving something, and the person who's perceiving something, he is mistaking one thing from other thing. This is what illusion is. So we are in illusion in this world. We're seeing this world here. We are. When we are beyond the states of naive realism, then we may be just confused. What is this world? But then we start reading Krishna conscious philosophy, and then we start getting a little, handle on what actually what is happening in front of us. We understand that actually it's Krishna and Krishna's energy. It's Krishna's illusory potency, but actually it is Krishna's energy. it's a Bhumi Apunalo Vayu Kammanu Buri Vacha Hankara Itiya Me Bina Prakriti Ashtada. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego, Krishna's separated material entities. And beyond that, Aparyam Vitastvanyam Prakritim Vidime Param Diva Bhutam Mahabhavo Yedam Dayate Jagat. That besides this inferior energy, Krishna says, I have another superior energy of mine, which consists of all living entities who are exploiting the resources of material nature, who are trying to enjoy the resources of material nature. This is what, when one starts seeing like this is there's low energy, and then there are living beings who are trying to enjoy, and it's two different energies, just like the body and the soul, two different energies. So the whole world is like that. So that is definitely one is starting seeing reality. Still, it's not perfect, but as I've seen this verse presented, or this point presented, actually, if one really understands this, then one starts approaching, actually seeing reality, which is an amazing situation, reality in this world here. And that's why this, even though it seems technical or like that, but actually it is an extremely important thing to understand. But it's not. I would say it's not a beginner's thing to understand. So can I understand? I mean, maybe we do not understand it immediately, or cannot comprehend it, and that's also fine. And I'm saying that because I'm as I'm speaking, I'm trying to somehow or other comprehend it, but it's deep. It's quite subtle, and also understanding depends not only on having knowledge, but as much on purity, that one is in complete. Actually, if one has any desire to enjoy separate from Krishna, then one cannot get a clear vision on reality, because this is the factor that is clouding our vision constantly, that I want to enjoy separate from Krishna. The natural situation is that I'm giving Krishna enjoyment, I'm simply serving Krishna, and by doing that, then I get happiness. Not direct happiness, but I get indirect happiness, because I'm very happy that Krishna is happy about what I'm doing. And this gives me this is actually how we really enjoy. And that we know also, that's our basis of our philosophy. We are meant to serve Krishna, and by seeing him happy, then we will also be happy. But also, as we advance further, we know, well, actually, we do not serve Krishna directly. We do not have access to Krishna directly. There's only one person who is serving Krishna, and who is that? It was not a question, but you can answer still.
We must see Radharani.
And who is she in this context here?
Lakshmi.
She's Lakshmi. Lakshmi and Radharani are identical. They are the same person. Lakshmi is more like, first of all, Lakshmi is Radharani on the level of just like Narayan. Krishna and Narayan are the same person, but it's still, it's Krishna in a certain level, and that corresponding level then Radharani is Lakshmi Devi. But actually it's the same. The only thing is actually with Radharani, it's you know more about the actual personality, and it's more intimate, which makes it even more difficult for us to, at least for me, it makes it even more difficult to understand and comprehend, and even and approach. One suddenly has to approach the Radharani with the greatest respect and even like fear, because it's so easy to misunderstand. Lakshmi is in one's discussion of Lakshmi is more about the category, just like we have Krishna and God. We're talking about the same, but God is more like the title. It's not in person, just like the president. But the president has a name, each particular person. The president is a post. God is also the post. So you can say, one thing, say Lakshmi is also kind of the post as a goddess of fortune. But who is that? Well, that's Srimati Radharani. That's Srimati Radharani is that goddess of Lakshmi, goddess of fortune. And as I understand, this is actually what is being discussed here. We do not serve Krishna directly, but we are simply assisting Radharani or Lakshmi in Krishna's service. She's already serving Krishna. This material world, we heard that in the previous verse we mentioned. Actually, it's in the material world, Mother Lakshmi is represented as the external energy. So the external energy is actually Mother Lakshmi. It's Mother Lakshmi when Krishna expands into Narayan or Vishnu and expands into the material world, then he becomes Shiva. That is, Shiva is actually not different from Narayan or from Vishnu. But the difference is like the difference between milk and yogurt. Yogurt is nothing but milk. But then again, it's not milk. You cannot use yogurt in the same way that you use milk. It acts differently, has a different property, and so on. So Shiva, but it is nothing but milk. And milk has the potency of yogurt, but yogurt doesn't have the potency of milk. If you have milk, then you can get yogurt, but you cannot go from yogurt to milk. So you can go from Vishnu to Shiva, but you cannot go from Shiva to Vishnu. So when Vishnu is by direct contact with the material world, external energy, then he is Shiva, and Lakshmi becomes Durga. And Durga is simply, it is Lakshmi, it is the external energy. So actually, all we see is simply Lakshmi. It is. We might think it is something else. Scientists call it molecules, atoms, whatever they call it. But actually, it is simply Mother Lakshmi who is assuming all the different forms for the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She is the supreme worshipper, and she takes all these forms of worship, meant for worship. This is actually what this world is. And that's also a subtle point here. But the actual potency that we see in matter, that is Krishna, or that is Narayan. The form is Lakshmi. The potency is Narayan, Krishna. Can you grasp that? What does that mean? So we can give some examples. You can take these cartons here. Sorry, now I just sabotage here. This very important international transmission worldwide, all over the universe, cosmos. These very important planet lectures. But here we have cartons. The form of the cartons. This is Lakshmi. The potency to play, that is Krishna. Or you have a knife. The form of the knife is Lakshmi. The potency to cut is Krishna. Does that make sense? Not yet. I'm not sure yet if I understand. But I'm repeating. I've heard others. That point is actually so. Actually, everything in this world has a form and has a potency, and they're actually separate. Like a knife, the potency to cut can be invested in many different kinds of knives and other cutting instruments, and so that is the super soul. That is Krishna or Narayan, and but the forms, particularly the form taken, that is Lakshmi, who is out of devotion taking that form, so Krishna can invest a potency for that kind of particular function being performed. In worship of Krishna, it's meant to be performed, acting in worship of Krishna, but of course in the external energy, here the jiva comes in as a third factor, because this world is meant for where jivas, they can exhibit their independence, and so they can independently somehow or other not use the forms of Lakshmi, which has a potency of Krishna for certain activities, but somehow our free choice can keep these from directly worshiping Krishna. But sometimes we say that we should bring Lakshmi back and engage Lakshmi in Krishna's service, but that's not possible. She is already engaged. We don't engage Lakshmi, we assist. We can simply assist. She's already engaged in the service. But still, if we do not assist like that, then in this particular case the worship will not take place. Just like there's an arctic plate, there's a ghee lamp, and so what is the ghee lamp? That is a form of Mother Lakshmi. She has assumed a ghee lamp for meant for worship of Krishna. The potency to illuminate that is actually Krishna, but she has assumed that form as a ghee lamp. But and then we have to pick it up and actually worship. If you don't do that, then the worship does not take place. But actually, we're not performing the worship. It's actually it's Mother Lakshmi who has the form and Krishna's potency. In this way, the worship is going on, and we're simply assisting it. We're simply assisting. But if we do not assist, then it will not happen, and we will not. Well, Mother Lakshmi is still engaged. Mother Lakshmi does not have a problem. She is always engaging in Narayan's service. But if we do not assist Mother Lakshmi, then we will not be engaged in Narayan's service. We don't serve him directly, we serve him by assisting Lakshmi in Narayan's service. If we do not assist, then we will not be engaged in Lakshmi's and Narayan's service. We will not make advancement. We make advancement by engaging in devotional service. And thus this whole world is simply forms that Mother Lakshmi is assuming with the potency of Krishna invested, where we are meant to assist this world in Mother Lakshmi's worship of Narayan. Something like that. Sometimes I've heard someone give actually proper classes on this topic, on this point here, and actually if it's presented properly, after you can actually start, really, even like you get electric. When you touch something, you get that electric feeling. Wow, this is Mother Lakshmi, and everything has, I have to, whatever is there,